Hello, and welcome to Emergency Preparedness 101. I'm Evelyn Zavala.
I'm Karen Orozco.
I'm Anna Padilla.
And I'm Matt Powers.
And today we'll be talking about emergency preparedness. So, what exactly is emergency preparedness, you may ask? So, emergency preparedness is the continuous cycle of planning, organizing, exercising, executing any actions or corrective actions that can happen when an emergency occurs. So why exactly is this important, you may ask? So we all have homes, don't we? We all have families we love. And so we invest time, money, we love our families, and if an emergency were to occur, we would like to protect our families and protect our homes and all our valuables and everything, especially ourselves. So what types of emergencies could happen? Natural disasters, we could have disease outbreaks, radiation or chemical emergencies, like nuclear plants exploding. Any types of these emergencies could happen at any moment, and we need to be prepared for these at all times. So emergencies can cause stress to people, and I know coming home from work, if an emergency were to happen, where are my kids? Are they home? Do they know what to do? Where's my aunt or grandmother that I may be taking care of or living with me? But it's important to not panic and know exactly what to do when these emergencies happen. So now, I have a little activity for you all. And when you walked in through the door, you should have received a little box. And this is now your emergency kit. So on to the left of the room, there are little piles of pictures. And on these pictures are different tools that you can pick. There's 12 different tools that you can pick out of, but you can only pick 6 of these. And you can pick the most important ones that you think you should have in your emergency kit. So now you can grab your 6 items. Now that you have grabbed your 6 items, I hope you all picked the most important ones, that you think at least. I'll go over the ones that the American Red Cross believes are the 6 most important items that you should have in your emergency kit. These are, number 1, water. 1 gallon of water per person in your household for at least 3 days. Did anybody pick water as their first one? All right. So number 2, food. This food should be non-perishable and should also be a 3-day supply. So canned food, boxed food, any sorts of things that are kind of packaged, closed. And if you have canned food, just bring a can opener in case. 3, a flashlight. And this flashlight should have batteries inside that aren't expired and they should work. Number 4, a battery-powered radio or one of those wind-up radios. And if you do decide to bring a battery-powered one, just bring extra batteries. Number 5, a first aid kit. And I hope we all have one of these, or you can pick one up at any CVS or grocery store. And number 6, medications. If anybody in your household takes medications, you should have at least a 7-day supply of your medications or your family member's medications. Alrighty. Now, Anna's going to tell us a little bit more about what we should have.
Alright, so I'm glad that Karen over here left this up because Evelyn already touched on it, but I'm going to just go a little bit deeper on the things that you need. So just make sure to always have emergency supplies ready for any natural disaster that could happen. The first and most important one will be food and water. Make sure to have at least 1 gallon of water per person. Food, make sure to make food that is easy to make and that won't spoil and that can last a couple of days. And make sure to have a manual can opener because that can help you just open any type of cans. Second will be electronics that you should have. For example, a flashlight and a battery. Always make sure to have a battery and flashlight, because in any case that it goes completely dark, you at least have that in hand. And if you don't, make sure to have candles and matches to light up a candle, so you can have some light to lighten up the room and that you can see where you're going. And also make sure to have a cell phone and charger, just in case that you can't get to a outlet where you can charge your phone, so you can call up any of your emergency contact people. And again, make sure to always have extra batteries. Another thing will be health and safety supplies. Like Evelyn mentioned, make sure to have a first aid kit and any medicine that you need to take daily or are prescribed. And also make sure to always have your prescription in hand, just in case that you need to take it and have to go to a pharmacy down the street. And also make sure to have soap and toothbrush and other personal care items, just so you could have a good hygiene. Once you have gathered all these supplies, make sure to put it in easy to carry containers and to place them in a room where you know it's going to be. So in any case of evacuation, you can easily just grab all the items that you already have packed for this type of incidents. All right, so how to respond to a national alert, messages and warnings. Always make sure to keep updated with the news and weather channel to see if your area has any danger. It's important to make sure to be prepared for a storm, most importantly, a flooding. Most times, one underestimates what a flooding can do, and they don't know what type of safety supplies to take with them or how to respond to a flooding. Since flooding is a big issue where we live, and it's a big issue where you probably buy your home, that's why we're going to stick a little bit to more of the flooding, since that's the natural disaster that could possibly happen more often or is most likely to happen in your neighborhood. All right, so there's a few steps that you need to take for flash flooding emergencies. First is to contact the local county planning department to find out if your home is located in a flash flood prone area or in a landslide prone area. Also, make sure to learn about your community's emergency plans, evacuation routes, and emergency shelters. Third, plan and practice flood evacuations routines with your family, because family is an important part. You want to get as many people as you can where you're going to evacuate. And also have a family contact just in case the family gets separated any type of this flooding, and make sure that everyone in the family knows the name, address, and phone number of the emergency contact. Also, another step will be identify any potential home hazards and know how to secure or protect them before your evacuation. Be prepared to turn off any electrical power when there is standing water, and just make sure to unplug everything that might come in contact with water. And this includes fallen power lines and anything that has to do with energy. Fifth, buy and install some backup power, just in case you do need it, in case all energy goes away and you need some power to turn on something. And six, for drains, toilet, and other sewer connections, install backflow valves or plugs to prevent any flood water from entering. And finally, I'll be talking about the different types of warnings that you'll need to make sure to know. First, it will be an advisory warning. This is only issuing it when it's not really a very strong natural disaster weather. It's only for less serious conditions, and it means it's less serious conditions than warning. Second thing that will fall types of warnings would be WAT. This means that weather conditions are favorable for dangerous weather to occur. In other words, WASH means just watch out for anything that weather could do and be ready to act accordingly. Last but not least is warnings. These are the ones that you should be looking out for any things that I've mentioned before. This is when you take the steps that you need to. For warning, this means that there's a severe thunderstorm, tornado, and in our case, it will be a severe flood. A warning means that the weather event is occurring somewhere in that designated area and that people need to take shelter as soon as possible. So I hope all of these steps and tips will help you deal with any flooding events that may occur in the near future.
Good afternoon. My very first question for this presentation is what is the first step that you would take in case of a disease outbreak? All right, good answer. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you over there. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. The first step that you need to take in case a disease does break out is you need to make sure that you know and that you are up to date on your vaccines. That is the key step and key instrumental in figuring out whether your immune system is good and effective against this potential against this disease outbreak, or if you need to try to go get a vaccine from a healthcare professional or whatnot. Vaccinating at a very young age is vital in furthering this preparedness because you really don't know when a potential infectious disease or damaging disease could come out. Recently we had the whole Ebola outbreak that happened in Africa. One cannot really prepare and know that that a disease such as Ebola can come out, but the very first step is getting your proper vaccines starting at a very young age. Secondly, kind of based off what Anna said too, you need to make sure that you have, kind of along the lines of an emergency preparedness kit, you need to have, in those emergency prepared kit, you need to make sure that you have enough supplies for proper sanitation. This being including plenty of sanitation bottles, soap, other like rubbing alcohol to alleviate all kind of cuts that you may have, because as we know, it's hard to tell based off just the symptoms if a disease could be airborne or if it is considered transmissible through bodily fluids or whatnot. So having these proper sanitation bottles and techniques and knowing about these are vital to if an infectious disease does break out. And also, along with having the supply of drinking water, you need to make sure that you have enough water in order to sanitize cuts, sanitize anything that may be going on like that. So along with the drinking water that Anna mentioned, you need to have at least 2 gallons of water, distilled water designated just for sanitation purposes only. And that's vital. Again, you need to also have, along with what Anna mentioned as well, you need to have plenty of medication that can combat certain things, certain pathogenic things if they arise, such as neosporins to help heal cuts. Especially you need to have an ample amount of sanitizer pads, because that is vital. That first initial onset cut, or that first initial onset duration that you may be feeling sick, or you may be feeling like you may have gotten some sort of pathogenic or infectious disease, it is very, very important to catch it early so you can prepare for later on. Also, something that a lot of people don't realize is having everyday items such as tissues and toilet paper and that kind of thing, because those could become vital in almost preparing you for those infectious disease outbreaks that could happen, because it could be as simple as wiping down any kind of, if you traveled outside of the country and you had certain items or souvenirs from that country, and you wipe down, you find out that, for instance, Africa, you find out that the area you visited had Ebola, outbreak there, you could instantly wipe it down and then use your hand sanitizer or your other alcohol pads to help clean those areas. And also, something that a lot of people don't realize too is that you need to take proper precautions with your family. And I think Anna mentioned this as well. knowing where to meet, what to do, knowing your medications that you take on a regular basis or not on a regular basis, just having all these are vital to help you combat an infectious disease. Because like I said earlier, you don't know when something's going to happen. You don't know that Ebola is going to come up tomorrow or another infectious disease could come up today. You truly don't know, and preparing is key to help combat and help, honestly, your survival and your family's survival. And lastly, you need to know your local TV stations, your radio, every kind of outlet, commercial outlet, where you could possibly hear about the different infectious diseases that are occurring within your area. You need to not only have one outlet or one outlet of how to learn the information about what's occurring, but you need to have multiple. So instead of knowing just one local radio station or a national radio station that you could flip on and they would give you updates on it, you need to know a local, a state, and a national. And also, it may help to keep 2 or 3 radios around the house and 2 or 3 random cell phone chargers, just because with so much technology in today's world, we can easily hop on the web and realize what's happening in Saudi Arabia or Canada or Mexico. So having those outlets are very important for combating any infectious disease that may occur. And lastly, I'll be talking about how vital it is to keep up to date on your vaccines. I know I mentioned it before, but if you start at a young age, such as if an infant gets his whooping cough or their whooping cough vaccine, that is going to propel you in the future. If an outbreak was to occur, say in your local municipal, it could prevent you from obtaining that infectious disease, but it also could help you help others. If you don't have the whooping cough and you know you're vaccinated for it, you could go help volunteer. If there was an outbreak at a hospital, you know that your immune system is capable enough to fighting this outbreak, so you could move on and help other people. And also, not only at a young age, you need to continue this and transgress this through your entire life. Just because you get immune at age 10 doesn't mean that you're immune at age 40. So, thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for the introduction. I'm going to be touching up more on immunizations as well, because they are really important. When we're successful in conducing and having immunizations, we're able to produce a country that has fewer disease outbreaks, which is why the U.S. maintains this high level of immunizations around. Most newborns have to have their immunizations by the time they're age 2, and it covers so many. It covers Hep A and Hep B, HPV, which can cause cancer, the measles, pertussis, mumps, rubella, the flu, polio. All of these are super important, and there are also outbreaks that occur all over the world, which, as Matt said, it is important to make sure that we keep up to date so we can go ahead and help others in other countries that don't also do that. For example, in Japan, they stopped vaccinating for pertussis because they thought, again, as we did a couple of years ago, that for some reason vaccines cause children to have cancer and cause children to have issues. So they stopped vaccinating for pertussis in Japan in 1974, I believe, because they thought it was unnecessary, and they had 13,000 cases spread out of whooping cough. And that's just crazy. Like, we should just keep immunizing our kids and make sure that we don't continue to have that, for example. Polio and diphtheria are really rare in the U.S. thanks to all of these immunizations. If you don't have health care, or if you can't afford to have your children immunized, we have a program, or so say the CDC has a program, called Vaccines for Children, which is free vaccines to children who don't have insurance or who are on Medicaid. And this program is awesome because anyone can go ahead and get vaccinated and have everything all set up and up to date. Just to throw some of those myths out there, I know some people get really worried because they know that vaccines have part of the virus in the vaccine, and so they feel like, oh, my children is getting the virus, my children is going to get sick. But this is untrue. Yes, it does contain part of the virus, but it is in an inactive form, and it helps the body create antibodies in order to fight the actual thing if it were to encounter it later. So, don't worry about getting the disease because you probably won't. And I mean, we all get the flu vaccine. We sometimes get the flu, but it's in a much lower case, and it doesn't harm us, and we will be fine. So that is important. There's also the case of immunocompromised people who cannot get the vaccines or who are more likely to be exposed because their bodies can't handle having the antibodies. And for people who don't get vaccinated and spread the disease onto others, this can be extremely fatal to them. So it's also important to stay up to date on your vaccinations for that as well. So I think we're going to touch up on some of the closing points.
We hope from my family and my community to yours that you've learned some valuable information and you take this home with you. We hope that you share it with your family and with your communities to make sure that they all stay safe. And remember, we never know when these emergencies can happen, so make sure that you prepare and take all precautions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
listening. We will be taking questions in just a minute.
Good dukes.